So welcome everyone. This is our very first Canadians Being in Oneness. That's going to be a bit of a series that Humanities Team Canada is gifting the world, shall we say. And our very first presenter, I'm really pleased to introduce my dear friend. Her name is Jane Warren Campbell. And amongst other things, she is a writer of some really important and meaningful books. She also explores and is really gifted with some healing modalities that she shares internationally. And I hope that everyone looks at her website to find out lots more about her. Roshana, what is your website?
Well, my main website is roshana.ca because I'm in the process of going from my spirit name Roshana back to my birth name. So my website is rashana.ca, and that's where you can learn about my healing modalities, and my books are listed there. And then I know today we're talking about Conversations with a Tree, so I also have the site conversationswithatree.com.
Right, which is a beautiful website and an extraordinary book. So I'm really grateful that you were able to join us today, and hopefully other people will be inspired by your message of our connection with nature and with each other. So I just wanted to start out today, Jane. Oh, first I have to do introductions. We have Christine Glenn, who is an invaluable team member here at Humanities Team Canada. And also she does an enormous amount of work with Humanities Team globally. And so you want to say hello, Christine?
Hello, everybody. I'm so grateful to be here. And this is so exciting that we're starting a new program with Humanities Team Canada and that Jane is our very first guest.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I'm Terry Choice. And I've been involved with Humanities Team Canada for about 6 years now, and I'm in a whole different time zone. I'm over in Nova Scotia, and you other two beauties are in British Columbia with the flowers.
That's right.
We're connecting the two oceans.
That's right. We are.
So Jane, I'd like to start with this poem that you wrote. It's on page 70. You know, I like to start things out with either prayers or poems, just kind of set a tone for the conversation. So I was wondering if you would mind reading us that
Sure,
poem.
I would love to read that.
70,
The poem is called We Are One, which is a lot of the theme of the book Conversations with a Tree. I dance with the eagle as my mind's eye soars over the land. I vibrate with the spirits of the earth, and I know that we are connected. I am the eagle. I am the blade of grass swaying in the breeze. I am the water rushing over rocks to meet again in the great ocean. I am the heartbeat of all life as it pulses ever closer to the Creator. I am your brethren. Feel me dance upon your soul and recognize that we are one.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I do want to show everyone your book, Conversations with a Tree.
Mm-hmm.
Is the writing reversed when you look at it? Or is
No.
it okay?
No.
Good.
Okay. My reflection shows that the writing is reversed.
Oh.
It's all an illusion.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful book, profound book. And also, I love the cover. You know, we've got these lovely orbs. And
Yeah. Thanks, Terry. A friend of mine said the orbs look like a high five. So I thought, yes, that's great. There's a high five right there.
It's a cosmic high five.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really fantastic. So Jane, you've been channeling angels and guides for quite a few years, and how is that different from channeling trees?
Well, it was interesting because with the angels and guides, I'm usually going into meditation and seeking them out. So to start with, it was a surprise because I was sitting at the base of a tree and I just knew that this tree wanted to communicate with me. So that was one thing that was different, that the tree actually reached out to me. So there are differences and similarities. Of course, the difference, is that a tree is here on this earth. So for people who want to make connections and it's harder to connect with the unseen realm, when we're connecting with the tree, we're connecting with an aspect of the tree that we don't see in a sense, but we can put our hands on a tree, we can lean against a tree and make the energetic connection that way. Okay. That makes it a little bit different. Some of the similarities are, when I connect with my higher guidance and beings of love and light, often I move to tears when they just send me a wash of love. And I've had that experience walking away from Henrietta, which is the tree that first reached out to me. One day I was walking away from her and I just felt this blast of love coming to my back, so much so that I was moved to tears. So when I'm sitting there and sitting at the base of a tree, it's similar in the way in that we just have to let our imagination go and just kind of pretend that this conversation is happening. And in another level, it really is happening, but it can seem like we're just making it up. So a lot of people, I think, dismiss it that way. Mm-hmm. So there are similarities to connecting with the higher realms in that way that you just have to trust. And often it's the message that helps me understand that I'm really connected because it's not my language. It's not the way I would usually talk. Right. One example of that, I was taking my daughter to visit Henrietta one day and we were on the trail and I sent my mind forward to Henrietta, say, hello, we're coming. And she said, oh, I see you're bringing your offspring to meet me. Well, I would never refer to my daughter as my offspring, but so that's one example of how you can just get a sense that, it's not your own mind just making this up in a sense.
It's your sprout.
You might sprout. Yeah, but I would say the real difference is they're here, we can put our hands on them and get a feeling that way, even if we're not getting a clear message. That's the beginning, just the feeling that we get when we connect with the tree.
Yeah, oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So Christine, do you have a question for Jane?
Yeah, I do. Jane, in your book, you talk mainly to two trees, Henrietta and George. Mm-hmm. Do you get different messages from different trees, and do you talk to all trees?
Well, I do. Different trees have different energies. So as I just explained, Henrietta reached out to me, and I knew she had a female energy. Her messages were very loving and very much about supporting us as humanity and moving forward. And when I was writing this book, I was going through a challenging time in my life, and I know she really helped me move through that. And then one day I was on another trail because I was living in a town that was new to me, so I was discovering the town. And so I was on a new trail, and when I was coming back, I passed this tree, and then I thought, I have to go back and look at that tree. And I knew the tree had called out to me, and this was George, or Georges, he prefers to be it pronounced. And he had a very masculine energy, even though he had a very softness about him that was different from Henrietta. So the trees are different. I don't talk to all trees. When I'm going through the forest, there might be a tree on the trail that will call out to me, and so I'll connect with that tree. And I usually, if I'm consciously going out to connect with a tree, I'll pick an older tree because they have more wisdom. I've discovered that younger trees really do have a more adolescent nature. So I'll go to an older tree to make sure that I'm getting the wisdom of one that's been there for a while. And it's almost like they move through life stages the same way we do. So you're going to want to go to the sage if you're going to connect. But I've been on the trail with friends, and a tree will reach out to them and they'll get a whole different feeling from that tree than I might. So when we're in the forest and in the woods, we can just, if we're aware, if we have our radar out, if we're tuned into the trees, then we may feel a tree just calling us to it. And if not, I would say to choose an older tree.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Now, I really had the profound privilege of meeting Henrietta when you were living in Wolfville, and Henrietta has, shall we say, been physically damaged in some ways. do you think that added to her wisdom and her openness towards you?
Well, it's interesting because, as you say, she has this large split in the base of her trunk and it looks like it's been lit on fire. And she once told me that it is challenging for her. You can see where someone lit it on fire and it actually started to crawl up the trunk of the tree. And she told me she had to put a lot of energy into suppressing that and then also recovering from the damage, to the inside of the tree from that fire. So she told me a lot of her energy had to go into that. So, it is similar to our human experience that they need to manage their environment and they have challenges. And I think because of that, they can also see our challenges as humans and have compassion for what we're going for. But part of that as well is that the trees are just love. Like, my understanding is that the trees are just love, and they don't have a human brain, so they don't judge things and they don't have expectations of the way things should be. They accept what is. They're just here accepting what is. And I think that's part of the stillness and the beauty and the healing aspect of being in the forest, is that deep acceptance.
Yeah.
And now Heart Math has even come out with shown like how underneath the roots are all interconnected and supporting each other and loving each other and helping the young ones survive. It's profound, isn't it, our interconnection?
It really is, and there's so much that we haven't known that's happening, under the soil in the hidden realms, and how the trees support each other. And other science is showing that trees will remember siblings, or plants will remember siblings, if they're removed for, say, 8 months in the lab and they bring the sibling back. All the other plants get excited. They recognize she's back.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And other research is showing that plants have intelligence, in that if you drop a mimosa plant, which is the one where the leaves just close up, they drop them onto a sponge from a high distance so they wouldn't be damaged. But in the beginning, the leaves would close. And after a while, the leaves stopped closing when they realized they weren't being damaged. And then months later, they would drop them again and the leaves wouldn't close. And they thought, well, maybe in this experiment they were just stressed. So they tried another stimulus and the leaves immediately closed. So they weren't just stressed and tired and couldn't close their leaves. So they really showed that plants also have intelligence. So it's remarkable, all the interest now in plant life and trees and the research that's coming from that interest. It's very exciting.
Well, you actually have quite a few scientific studies and information in your book. So this is just not a book that comes from channeling and intuition and appreciation of nature, but you have a scientific basis for a lot of the things that you're saying.
Yes, when I decided to bring this forward, I really wanted to show that I wasn't crazy. I say in the book, out of my mind maybe, but not crazy. But I was really delighted to find all the research that really supported that plants could be able to connect with human beings that way. So I was happy to include that chapter in the book about the science. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, and we are all connected, because when we were moving to BC 13 years ago, 2 movers didn't get my move because they said I couldn't bring my plants. And some of these plants have lived with me since I was a teenager. And I talked to the plants and I said, you're going to be in the dark for 2 weeks, but we're all going to be together again. And everybody made it.
Isn't that something? Yes, exactly. They knew we can hold in there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
So Jane, I want to just read a little passage that's on page 80. This is, I believe this is a message from Henrietta, and it says, to address the intelligence of a plant to respond to its environment, including the thoughts of humans, is to realize that all life is connected. One thing does not happen without affecting another thing in its environment. Eventually, this ripple effect passes throughout the entire earth. Can you see here the significance of every thought? So, with Humanities Team Canada, our basic concept is around our oneness and our interconnection and our responsibility to everyone and everything in this glorious planet and endless glorious universe. Could you expound a little bit around that concept of oneness and our connection.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's interesting. When I was doing that research, and also I have a great interest in water because I've created essences with water and toning into water, and I'm actually going to start creating tree essences with water. But water is one example for how everything is connected, because scientists in Germany were creating some experiments where they had several people, and they gave everyone water from the same source and asked everyone to put a drop of water on 6 slides. And when they started viewing these slides, the water would have a different character based on the person who had put the drops on the slide. So basically, just by being present with that person, the structure of the water changed. So we can see how we're affecting life, just our presence. And quantum physics has shown the same thing, that particles are in a state of rest until someone thinks of something or
observes them,
starts to observe them, and then they start to take form. And these particles are what makes up all life. And we know that, heart math was mentioned here. Heart path has shown that we have our human aura is this huge magnetic field. And the trees talk about this as well, that if you're living in an apartment building, your aura is affecting people up above, below, beside, where we don't even realize it. We may never meet these people, but we're still connected with them. And the power of our thoughts, too. Bruce Lipton, in The Biology of Belief, has also shown that our cells, there was a time when we thought DNA would only change through chemical reactions in our body, but he's shown that our cells and our DNA responds to the environment, and our thoughts are part of that environment. So our thoughts are creating our own physical structure, but they're also radiating out into the world. So it's really very powerful how we are all connected. And I asked the trees once, how can you have so much intelligence being a tree after all? And the trees said to me, they pull the wisdom in from the field, like the field in quantum physics, and that humans have that ability as well. And that's another way I believe that we're connected, is that we're all really, there's new research also about the human brain saying that the brain's more like an antenna and memory is stored in the field. So we're all connecting in that field as well to bring in the information that we use every day in our life experience, and not realizing that the trees are doing that as well. And the animals, I'm quite sure, would be doing that as well. And, you think even of animals knowing when an earthquake is coming and going into higher ground, they can sense what's happening in the bigger picture.
Yeah, great. Christine, you have another question there, Dad?
I do. Jane, your book says that we all have the ability to communicate, excuse me, in some way to trees, plants, water, and even rocks. How do we learn how to do this?
Well, I've actually taken people into the woods to help people connect with trees themselves, and been really delighted with the outcome of that. The most recent one was when I was living in Canmore a couple of years ago, and I had some of my friends, and my daughter brought some of her friends, and we went in, and I had found 2 trees that I felt would be good for us to connect with and to play with. And I started by leading everyone into a meditation. And then we all went up to the same 2 trees so that we could compare notes, so to speak. And there was one person in this group who was very skeptical, and she was just there because everybody else was there. And she even received a message that was so personal she didn't want to share it with the group. So I think it's a matter of, for one, we have to believe that it's possible. So when we start talking about this, like, I love just that this is coming forward, because a lot of people say, oh, I have that connection too, but I haven't told a single person. Yeah. So when we start talking about it, it opens up the possibility. Then we have to have the desire, because if we have the desire, we're going to go and we're going to try. And then we go and we just stay with the tree. We put our hands on a tree, put our back on a tree, and just be present and feel what happens. Feel what you feel. Often if I lean against a tree, my heart starts to race, because the trees are clearing, either mentally or emotionally, they tell me. But when we have the interest and believe that it is possible, so I'm going to play with this, and the open mind to receive, and we go and do it, we start to say, oh, you know, I do feel something when I'm doing this. And then if we ask the trees a question or ask for some support in some way, it comes in different ways for different people. Somebody might see an image of something or sense an image or just a knowing. Or
Jane, you're fading out a little bit. You want to move forward a little bit?
Forward, what was that? Go forward a little bit?
Yeah, your voice was fading out.
Oh, okay. So it could be just a feeling that you have in your body, or you might just feel like you just know something that wasn't there before, and just make note of every little thing and give it some attention. You may only get one word, but that word can really make a big difference if you're in your life, if you pay attention to it and really give it some merit. So I've been really delighted when taking people to the woods and making these connections, because we get to see that really everybody can do this. I know when I first started doing spiritual work and teaching Reiki, I didn't feel anything in my hands. And for the longest time, I had to just trust that something was happening. And slowly it developed for me, and I started to have that feeling. So I would say if this is something that you really want, just practice and do it and trust, and don't dismiss what you get. Like, we have a tendency, I think, to let our mind get involved and then think, oh, that was just my imagination, or that was silly, you know, what am I thinking? But if we trust and just really make note of it and take it seriously, then I believe it will evolve. Yes. And we benefit by being in the forest anyway. So
exactly.
Yeah.
All connections with nature are precious. So,
well, you know, when I feel out of balance, I go and lie on the ground.
Right. Yes. It's so beneficial to ground ourselves and let Mother Earth feed us with her energy, because that's what keeps us going and keeps us alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're winding up time-wise here. Could you finish, Jane, with an example of the wisdom of Henrietta?
Sure.
Just read us a little section.
Okay. It's a little bit about our evolution now. I would like to say to humanity this day that there is great hope now in the universe for you to succeed in this great transition into the light. You have moved more fully into what it is to be human. You will begin to see more and more care and concern for the environment, and less tolerance for that which is harmful to the environment. You are moving back to the awareness that all life is connected. Just like the roots of a tree reach out and connect with the tree beside it, your energy fingers, your auric fields, reach out to touch each other. You are always connecting energetically with those around you. And she talks again about those living in apartment buildings. When you begin to understand this more, you will change the way you live. It will begin with your connection to nature and a deep respect for all that is. This includes the creatures of the earth, the water, your fellow humans, plants, and all life. Once you begin to understand the deep connection that you have to all, you will want to take better care of the all. And that is truly my dream and hope for this book, that it inspires that transition. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jane.
It's a beautiful book, Jane.
Christine and I.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this invitation to be here with you today.
Yes.
So and could you please just remind us of how to get a copy of your book, Jane?
Sure. So it's Conversations with a Tree, and it's available on Amazon.ca or .com, depending on where you live, and also available on my website, which is conversationswithatree.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone who has been supporting Humanities Team Canada and Humanities Team globally. And we wish you all much joy, much love, and may you go out and touch nature. Thank you very much.
Shine your light. Let your light shine.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.